Thursday live stream where the purpose of this content is to answer your questions for the next couple of hours. Tonight, there is a members-only live stream at 6 o'clock where if you want to see how a real estate investor actually looks at deals and figures out if it's something to keep looking at or to throw away, that's what we do. Financial independence, no excuses. The way YouTube works is you make content on whatever you want to cover. It can be your hobby, your passion, what you do for work. I do it on how the average individual can reach financial freedom in 10 years or less and make work completely optional, even if you're not starting from the best position. YouTube shares that content with people who have subscribed to our channel and have watched videos in the past. If enough people like the way the thumbnail looks or the title of the video seems to relate to them, they will click through. So if you have a high click-through rate, and then people watch the majority of the video, which means you have a long duration of view duration, then YouTube shares it with people in a similar subset. Most of my content relates to retiring early, financial freedom, real estate investing, how to get your tenants to ask you for a rent increase. Yes, that's a thing. So those people see the content, and some of them will say, that's an interesting way of thinking of it. Doesn't work for me, but it's not bad. If enough of those people tend to like the video, click through and watch the video, YouTube then sends it out to people who watch similar content, but on a broader scale. And so recently I had a video that went fairly viral. Viral to me. Normally I get 1,000 to 5,000 views within a couple of weeks. This one has over 50,000 views within a week. And that means it was spread further into the pond of people watching content here on YouTube, which we know will bring up a lot of the negative Nancy's. If you are on the path to financial freedom and you're watching my content because I teach you things like how to invest in a high cost of living area, and I know that that doesn't work for everybody, like the question that came in through Facebook Messenger today on how long would it have taken if you invested at a distance instead of investing locally to reach financial freedom? I had to reply honestly, probably would have went faster the way Millennial Mike is doing it, but it would have taken a lot more effort, a lot more mental energy, and a lot more creative strategies like you've done. All mine were from the MLS, conventional loans, super boring, super slow. The content that went out is getting comments back, and there are a lot of positive comments. We will read some of those as well. But I want to start with, as in the thumbnail of this video, from Coastal Beer, which I think I've seen the name before. And I think Matt was saying he's seen the name before. He watches the video and then takes the time to leave a message and says, "What a crock. You can't retire at all anymore, at least not the common man. Everything is too expensive now. You can't even afford to die now. Sure, some people can, if they're one of the fortunate ones. Look at our homeless problem. Rent is unaffordable. Buying a house is a problem for most people now. This video is a farce." And so I feel Coastal Beer's pain. Something Zuber pointed out is, obviously this is somebody who takes in a lot of the Crash Bros videos. But let's break this down. Can you not afford to die? Not if you want a big funeral. I understand that. But remember, the funeral is not for the person who died. It's for the people who aren't dead yet. If my dad knew how much I spent on his funeral, he'd be rolling over in his ditch. The average man, the average common man, can reach financial freedom. The thing they have to do that most aren't willing to is what my friend Mike here did. Stop being common. Right? I would say, in a lot of ways, we're fairly average. Didn't have rich parents, didn't make a big inheritance, right? Only 12% of millionaires inherit their wealth, so 88% were self-made. It's based on 2 big studies that I've heard of. Didn't have super high-paying jobs, aren't extremely educated, both able to work towards financial freedom in today's current market. The problem is people say things like rent is unaffordable and buying a house is unaffordable. Rent and buying a house is a problem where people want to live. But if you're willing to take a step back and think, Mike, let's go over your portfolio. You live in a high cost of living area, so how did you solve that problem?
I decided to invest at a distance. Or unless you're talking about house hacking. I house hacked
Both of
first.
them. Right.
Problem solved. Done. Live for free. Next.
And when you bought your duplex, about how much was it?
450,000 in the number one appreciating market 23 months in a row at the time, Seattle.
And how much was a house? A similar sized house, 3 bedroom, 2 bath in the area.
Exact same price. In fact, a
Right.
friend of mine with the same job bought a $450,000 house a month before I bought my duplex.
Exactly the same. And when I bought my duplex, first one 300,000, next one 298 or 290, then 298. At the same time, you could buy a house for around $300,000. I had the choice, like most people do, to go buy a house, or I could buy a duplex, and then I bought three over the next few years for the same price as the houses. Reducing how much we're paying for housing. So coastal beer, are you not willing to house hack? So that's the solution in a high cost of living area. Then you, Mike, you invested at a distance. You now have 27 rental units in Gary, Indiana. You are the king of Gary. If anybody Googles real estate investing in Gary, Indiana, your name pops up. If anybody Googles $89,000 in bad debt without knowing it, my name pops up. So you got to think about what you make content on. I'm going to use this example as to why housing is more affordable now than ever. In 2000, the year 2000, were you alive in 2000? Yes, you were alive in 2000.
I was 9.
You were 9. Oh, there you go. I purchased a house for $100,000. Does that make it seem like I can only be rich because I bought a house that long ago?
I'm still jealous.
Mike, how many houses have you bought for under $100,000?
All of them, except for the duplex I
except for the
currently
duplex.
have.
Right. So let's take Washington here, a higher cost of living area. I bought a house for $100,000 in a little town where the Apache called the Boondocks in Yelm, Washington. I bought it when there was one blinking red light, 45-minute drive to a grocery store, no movie theater, no Lowe's, no Home Depot, no Walmart, no internet. The dial-up hadn't even really hit that area yet. No Comcast, no Xfinity. It was a local rip you off phone service. And the house was $100,000. Now, if you buy in Yelm, there's a Walmart, there's a Safeway, there's a movie theater. There almost was a Home Depot. You have T1 internet connection or better in most places. So yeah, the house cost you $300,000 or $400,000. Go another hour out where there isn't a great internet connection, where there isn't a great walkability score, where you don't have a Walmart and a Safeway, and you don't have a movie theater, and you find $100,000 houses in Washington State. Housing is more affordable now than ever because what people make now is a lot more than what I made in 2000. And you can get a remote job and go buy those houses. It's people aren't willing to do what it takes. You work a full-time job, you're a SWAT officer, you just recently got a promotion of working nights. What do you do with your off time, your downtime where you get to live Mike's life? What are you spending your time doing?
So in my time off from my 60-hour-a-week job of being a police officer and being a SWAT officer, in my free time, I manage all of my real estate. I currently am always looking for new deals, new people to partner with, and ways to expand my portfolio. I spend a lot of time on YouTube, including making the videos, filming the videos. This is darn near a full-time job. I also am a single father with full custody of my son, so I got to spend time with him. Because I don't want to get my butt kicked on the side of the road or die, I go to the gym and I work out a lot. So when you say this thing called free time, I really don't know what you're talking about. I sleep 4 or 5 hours a night, and that's usually what I do. That is my free time, is 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Other than that, I pretty much jam pack every second I have in it, doing live streams like this to talk to people that I'm trying to help out, doing real estate related things, working, going to the gym. Yeah, that's what I do.
And the person complaining that housing is unaffordable and rent is unaffordable, I can almost guarantee that with their 5 hours a day that they get that's theirs while they're working a W-2 job, it's Netflix and chili. It's unhealthy food. It's staring at that thing that I call the electronic income reducer. The next TV show that person is binging from start to finish every episode. Instead of taking that time that's theirs, if you always work 9 to 5 for somebody else and never 5 to 9 for yourself, you're always going to be working until you die. But you take those 5 hours a day and you do what you're doing. And yes, staying in shape is important, but you're acquiring cash flowing assets. You're doing the best thing you can do for your son. And that's to make sure that you don't become a financial burden to him when you're too old to work, because that will happen. I know it doesn't feel like it when you're in your 30s, but there's going to come a point in time when you're like, I might not want to work anymore. For me, it was age 8. That was about the time I thought, this job thing is stupid. I don't want to do this anymore. And yes, I had a job when I was 8. I want to read some of these comments. And I'm going to go through the newest ones first. This one came in today. Maybe they just want to enjoy their life while they're alive. Not sure exactly what that one was. It's not clear. I'm not sure if that's a dig that the person trying to achieve financial freedom isn't doing it right. So I'm not going to attack that one.
I get that one all the time, Dion. When I make videos like you need to work 80 hours a week. Wow. How dare you insinuate that someone should spend more time as a corporate slave giving their labor to the overlords? You're only young once. You've got to enjoy it while you're young. Stop and smell the roses. Go on a vacation. Throw it on a credit card. Make yourself a slave to the freaking financial matrix you're living in. Yeah, I get that comment all the time, Dion. You should address that comment because it's stupid. You want more time? Give him your speech on having more life in your time.
That was the video that response. All of these are response to the video where I talk about tripling your life. Right? The average person right now working a W-2 has 5 hours a day where you're exhausted. If you can retire early, or retire, but if you can retire early, you increase the number of years that this happens. Instead of 5 hours a day that you get where you're tired because you went to work, you prepped for work, you dealt with coworkers, you dealt with agencies, you dealt with customers. Those 5 hours where you're exhausted, or you can figure out a way to retire early. And a lot of the comments in this, because I talked about what happens when you retire early, not how to retire early, because how to retire early has taken thousands of videos in over 3 years, and finding, like Zuber, 10 plus other millionaires that have done it. So everybody knows that my way is not the right way. It was the right way for me. Part of my way might be part of that person's way. Part of your way might be it. In an 8-minute video, you can't fit in how to reach financial freedom, but I could put in, here's one of the benefits. Instead of 5 hours, I have 15, where other than hours, Las Vegas trip, I haven't been tired in 3 years. 3 years of not, because if I feel like it, I just go take a nap. Sometimes I nap in the middle of the night when other people are sleeping. Sometimes I nap during the day. So yes, the person who is thinking, yeah, they want to enjoy their life now. They're thinking they're going to die when they're 50. And so you better enjoy it now. There are a lot of people who are 58 who are thinking it's too late to invest, thinking that when you're 30, you're fairly certain you're going to be 35 eventually. It's right around the corner for you, right? You're eventually going to be 35.
You get there eventually.
When you're 58, you still have the next 5 years coming. You're probably still going to be around in 5 years. You should start investing like it, even when you're 58. Lou Dog Mo. Money isn't everything, but unfortunately, everything needs money. Brilliantly put. I totally agree. That talks about a couple of the other comments here where, like Prancer here says, it's all good and well to say retire, but you need money for a life. Exactly. I didn't say quit your job so you get more time for yourself. I said retire early. To retire early, you generate enough income without having to sell your life 1 hour at a time. That could be one of the 3 main ways. There's one, you could start and grow a business. I would watch Minority Mindset, Jaspreet Singh, listen to everything he talks about on entrepreneurialism and grow a business with the goal of growing it to the point where it's so large somebody else runs the day-to-day and you get your time back. The second way would be to invest in stocks. I recommend watching Joe Kuhn or Azul and using the buckets method, going for the 4% rule or using a blended dividend stock method. I don't know anything about stocks, so I'm not giving you stock advice. I'm saying watch their content on how to reach financial freedom investing in stocks to retire early. Joe retired, I think, at 54. He's been retired like 5 years now, puts out great content on how to do it with the buckets method. Or you can invest in real estate the way Mike and I are. There are many paths to financial freedom. This is the one we chose. It takes a lot of work. It takes, I think, a decade. I think you can do it faster if you put a lot more time and energy into it, the way Mike is with the creative financing you're doing, the seller financing, the slow burr method that you invented, basically, that's going to make your portfolio bigger than mine and produce more cash flow than mine and probably shorter than the 10 years it took me to do it. But this person is right. I lost it. Prancer.
Something. Oh, Prancer.
Yeah. It's all good and well to say retire, but you need money to have a life. Absolutely. That's the purpose of the rest of my content and these 2-hour videos that most people that will only watch an 8-minute video and will never even see on how you reach financial freedom by investing in cash flowing assets. Mr. Joe Caffeine actually said so good. There are some positive comments. They do pop up on occasion. I see Mrs. K jumped in here. You previously mentioned that there's 3 dumb things people do with their LLCs. Could you please cover what they are? Well, I want to answer your question. Thank you for the super chat. That does jump you to the front of the line. I want to know 3 dumb things people do with their LLCs. One, so there aren't dumb things. There's 3 dumb reasons people get LLCs when I don't think they should. First, they do it for asset protection and they don't have partners. If you or you and your spouse are getting an LLC for asset protection, I don't believe there is any. The counties where I invest don't use the pierce the veil method. They actually disregard them using the 1996 IRS precedent saying they don't exist. They are disregarded entities. The second thing they do it is for tax benefits, of which there are 0. They're pass-through entities that the IRS determined to be disregarded entities. And the third one, and there's many reasons that I wouldn't do it. It's harder. It messes up lending. You can't do house hacking. It makes your insurance costs go up, makes you more likely to get sued. In California, it triggers rent control. If you own a house or a duplex that's in your own name, it's not rent control, but if you put in an LLC, it is. So like, it's not just 3, there's a ton of reasons there. So if you're considering that, if you have partners, I would have an LLC. Mike and I were going to buy a 5-plex together. We would have formed an LLC. I had an LLC for my nonprofit. I had an LLC for my CDL school. I should have had LLCs in all of my marriages. A lot of paperwork. But if you need to use lending, like hard money that requires an LLC, sure, have an LLC. But there's a lot of reasons why I wouldn't. See old guy REI. Howdy, Frank. I should be wearing my merch shirt. Hey guys, this is really too hard. I spent 28 minutes today setting up inspection and appraisal for this single family rental we're under contract for. Right now, I give up. I fully support that. Frank, just send me the details and I'll follow through on that purchase for you. And I see you are rehabbing your bathroom. Good job. Finally, after how many years? Congratulations. We should do a video on your new purchase when you close on it. Jimler man, I probably said that wrong. I'm 58 with nothing saved for retirement and will live on $1,200 a month when I retire at 62. If I'm lucky, I get 4 to 5 hours of sleep at night because of sleep issues. I admire you and how you got there. I wish I was you in some ways. No, you don't, not other ways. But I have resigned myself to my lot in life because of my early life decisions. Good for you, buddy. Stay strong. Thank you for the compliments and the support, but I want to give it back to you. You are 58. That's probably why that number was stuck in my head. You are going to be here in 5 years. You can make decisions now. Frank, please put in the comments. How old were you when you started buying your rentals again this time, this round of rentals that you're buying? You can have a better retirement by house hacking, by investing in something. It doesn't have to be real estate if it's not your thing, but it can be something. You can make 5 years from now very different than you're thinking if you are resigning yourself to your lot in life, because it doesn't sound like a lot. Southern MC says, retire when you have enough money. Don't retire early. That is a thing that makes me think of a new investor, somebody who's just looking into it. Because when you say, well, I can usually tell us, this should be one of our questions for Man on the Street when we do the Seattle waterfront, which we should do soon, and I'm putting you on the spot for. So people, if you don't see that in the next 3 weeks, it's because Mike told me to F off.
I still got to upload the rest of my Vegas girls. I got more of those videos coming.
Fair enough. How much do you think it would take to retire? You could tell the person who really hasn't thought about investing is going to say a number, a round number, 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, whatever it is. The person who's looked into financial freedom and being able to retire is going to name a monthly amount of income that comes without having to sell your life 1 hour at a time, or cash flow freedom number. So don't retire when you have enough money. To me, I don't think there is enough money. It's a repeatable income every month that you don't have to sell your life for. VPC says, I'm one of the people who appreciated the shorter style video. Thank you for this content. It was really eye-opening. I totally get it. There's a lot of people on YouTube that only have a 15-minute commute and they're looking for a video to fill the time between work and home or home and work, and 2 hours is not going to work. I am trying to set up more of these into the podcast format. Mike, when you do your lives, make sure you check the box that it goes out into a playlist that is set up as a podcast. I don't know if you knew that you could do that.
Yeah, it's a newer feature, but me with my 4 lives ever. Yeah.
That's okay. I have my podcast lives get 4 or 5 times the listens than my videos get views. This is my first month. 3 years of YouTube. This is why you can retire. Just make a YouTube channel and you'll be retired tomorrow. 3 years of doing YouTube. Millions of views now. This is the first month where I ever made more than $1,000 off of YouTube.
Nice.
So if you're watching somebody's content and they have millions of subscribers and millions of views and their income is solely from YouTube, I don't know that I would follow that advice on how to retire or how to invest. I talked about Matt looking decades younger, and this person, Bushman23, says, how does your friend wake up when he wants to and he has young kids? And I said, he probably doesn't. He still gets punched in the face early, but he removed the stress of working, and Matt looks 10 years younger. Here's my favorite, Joe M. This is a video on how to triple your life, to be able to retire early and get 15 hours a day that are yours, not exhausted, instead of having 5 where you're wiped out. And the most that you can do usually is stare at a screen or maybe play a video game. Joe M says, it sounds boring. What am I supposed to do all day? Mike?
What am I? Well, I'll tell you. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I relate to Joe M just a little bit, because truthfully, when I say I want to retire early, it's because I just don't want to be a police officer anymore. I work an awful schedule. I'm put in pretty dangerous situations on a frequent basis. Was shot at like 3 times last year. I want to retire because I'd like to be there for my son as he grows up. That doesn't mean I'm just going to sit on a beach and drink mimosas. I don't even drink in the first place. But there's a lot of other things that I would like to devote my time to doing. I do get some satisfaction out of doing the remodeling in houses. I worked in construction for a number of years before I became a cop. So I'll retire from my 60 hours a week as a cop, but I'll just continue to manage my real estate, look for new deals, teach other people how to get started investing. And Dion and I run the speaking circuit and speak at multiple events each year to help other people like the people in the chat right now get started investing in real estate. And of the people in the chat right now, there's a ton of people here who you've directly influenced and helped them buy their first or next rental property. Or old guy REI, I gave him some confidence to invest at a distance. He lives in California. He owns a bunch of stuff all over the country now. So that's unbelievably rewarding. On top of that, I'm sure whoever asked that question probably isn't in the physical fitness shape that they'd like to be in. Guess what? You have more hours to devote to getting healthier. Probably not eating as healthy as they could. Guess what? You have more hours to devote to managing that aspect of your life. If you were just gifted $1 million, you'd find somewhere to spend it. But time is money. If you were gifted all of those hours of time, you'll find somewhere to spend it that's enjoyable. And yeah, it would be a little boring to just sit on a beach. There will be projects. There's an unlimited amount of people who need your help, who could take your mentorship. There's people in your life that you could, the opportunities are endless.
This is the last comment that I'll do, and then we're going to get to the questions that people are here for today. This is from, I think it's Regina Fish. And I lost it. Yep. Regina Fisher. I made an 8-minute video, and I specifically said I'm making a short video because a lot of people won't click on a 2-hour video where all of the actual information is. Regina says, oh my God, this is horrible. You didn't tell me anything. Well, no kidding. It was an 8-minute video. I'm sorry. Regina Fisher, you have the memory of a goldfish and wouldn't watch a longer video unless you're here. Then you might have a chance of actually learning what it takes to reach financial freedom. I love, there were a ton of like positive comments too, and all of those let me know that there are people that have been impacted. There are people that are going to take action. Like there are people that appreciate the content. The reaction that comes from the negative comments to me is the most entertaining, because those were the ones where I didn't just block the person, because I usually send back, enjoy being poor, and then block them from the channel because they say something so negative. I also ask, does your mom know you have the computer in the basement again? Does your therapist know you have access to the internet again? Like the normal things you take somebody through. When I kind of be sarcastic when I'm saying I'm kind of sarcastic when I do those things, but really I could tell that is a person that is frustrated, right? We are indoctrinated from a young age, and I won't pick on religion, but how do you get religious people? You start telling them those things about religion when they're young, right? The school starts young. Well, let's take that, not religion, but let's take finances. You're in a room from 5 to 18 with 20 to 40 other kids, where the only person in the room that you spend the most of your time with took a union job, is working towards a pension, has an actual schedule that's set up for 5 days a week, a certain number of hours every day, has a bell to start it and a bell to finish it. The person that you interact with the most is the teachers that have a very hard job. I totally get it. What do you think you're going to think life is about when you grow up? That's why it's so hard to break the mold of maybe there's another way. Maybe you could be the next Matt and drop out in the 9th grade, get over 100 rental units, reach financial freedom in your 40s. Okay. Any questions pop up that you would like to get to right away, Mike?
Well, Rob left a wonderful comment where he said, "You know, it's bad when Dion tells you you have the memory of a goldfish." So yeah,
That's a good point. Did I say that? That is a good point.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it ain't good when you're insulting people on their memory. No, I mean, I was just scrolling, keeping up with the chat, but there's plenty of things. I think you need to. Did you already cover what FINE stands for? Fine.
Fine.
Did we talk about
it? I think it's in the title. I can't remember if I put it there. So the FIRE community, financial independence, retire early, tends to trigger a lot of people because you'll get those people that say, I don't want to retire early. What would I do with all my time? You don't understand that there is more things to do, Horatio, than you can possibly imagine. That's not the quote. I know that's not the quote. But if the only thing you can think of doing if you retired early is nothing, maybe you're not the person that needs to retire early. Because when we retire early, it's not nothing that we can do. It's literally anything. Yes, if you're in the FIRE community where you don't buy avocado toast and you don't get a latte and you bike to work and you do all of these super frugal things, life's going to suck. I don't see myself as part of the FIRE community. First, they don't like real estate. I don't understand how Afford Anything, which is a great community with Paula Pant. You talk real estate in there, they just pounce on you and like it's an attack. But Paula has 7 rentals, and that's how she reached financial freedom. Yes, she has a great following on YouTube, and yes, that turned into probably a great revenue source for her, but her fire came from real estate. And she's not frugal, right? We have some frugal habits. Instead of watching my budget, what did I do? I house hacked. Reduce or eliminate the biggest expense, never worry about the little ones. So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, I'm here so we can trash talk back these financial independence, retire early people, because they have their stock ideas. And if they're going to hate on real estate, I'm all about why don't we hate on them and their fallacy of a retirement strategy. Their entire retirement strategy is maybe if I buy enough stocks and I get this big pot of money, I can then quit my job. And hopefully, if I withdraw just the right percentage and there's no economic turmoil, there's no recessions, there's no crashes. If I'm lucky, I'll die before I run out of money. But if I live too long, crap. It's a garbage strategy. It is the big pot of money fallacy, and it doesn't work. And that's why in 2007, 2008, 401ks became 201ks. Whoops, I invested in the wrong stock. Now Netflix isn't as good as it was, or Blockbuster's gone, or Toys R Us is gone, or Macy's or Sears, or all these other companies you thought were good. Guess what? They ain't. I mean, I just think it's a terrible idea. It doesn't scale with inflation. You're slowly drawing your stuff away versus real estate. Rents go up over time. Equity goes up over time. The building has innate value. The land has innate guaranteed value. They're just jealous of us. Not only are we better looking, but we're also smarter.
Well, one of us is. So I'm not going to say which.
Definitely you.
So when it comes to stocks, I'll be the first one to admit you and me are not stock guys. We just wouldn't invest in them. It doesn't do us. If I had money in a retirement account, like you're working, you have money in like probably left to or whatever the current law enforcement thing is. Yes, you can mitigate that with the bucket strategy like Joe Kuhn does, right? And there are ways to do it. And so with the FIRE community, what I don't attack the strategy. I think there are several ways to do it. Like the people who won the CDL school that I worked for, they reached FIRE by investing in a business. Totally an option. I don't even know if they own stocks. I finally got them to buy some real estate. The problem for me with the fire community is if you have to retire frugally, what's the freaking point?
Yeah.
Right? If I had to be frugal now, I wouldn't have bothered. I wouldn't have any rentals. I just keep working. And then I take the vacations that everyone else does. But when you can take and find your freedom number, your comfortable freedom number, for me, it was about 4,000 a month. I spend that on average without trying to save, without trying to spend, because I house hack, so I don't have a housing thing, and I buy vehicles in cash, so I don't have a car payment, right? Then when it got above 16, so my income was 4 times what I needed. Yeah, I can retire. I could double everything I'm doing. I created what are called reverse budgets. I require that my next vehicle has a payment close to $2,000 a month. It's probably going to be a $130,000 pickup with every stupid extra on it that you can have that's going to sit for most of the year because I'm going to be in another country. I require that I spend $2,000 a month eating out, right? I don't want to live frugally. I don't want to live like I don't have a mansion. I don't need one. I travel more than I'd ever be at the house, and I don't want to have to take care of that kind of space. I splurge on the things that matter to me. So it's definitely not about being frugal. And then the retire early, the people that say, well, what would you do? There's too many things to do to even name. That's why I want to say the new movement that I'm pushing, I'm bringing it to all my content creator friends. I took it to the group chat with Zuber and Matt and you and some other ones, and I'm saying financial independence, no excuses. Every one of these comments that was negative today was someone looking for a reason to not take action. It's not possible, so why bother? I'm in the wrong area. I'm in the wrong time zone. I'm in the wrong generation. Every excuse that somebody thinks of, and then Zuber nails it, right? It's an old adage, but he nails it. If you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're right. That's why I'm trying to help people get rid of the excuses. Yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take knowledge. And Ford said this, the hardest work is thinking. That's why it's paid the most. And somebody is messaging me during a live chat.
Hey, just to your comment on we're not stock guys, just so everybody knows, I'm not speaking from a place of no experience. I've invested in a Roth IRA that turns 10 years old in like 3 months. 10 years of investing in a Roth IRA. Diligently over that entire time, I've been maxing it out for the last several years. I didn't start maxed out because I was young and poor. And to my boy, drop out and retire early, who's in the chat, I got started on that Roth IRA because of Dave Ramsey encouraging people to use his Smart Investor Pros to help you invest your money into mutual funds, which are similar to index funds, which is a conglomerate of what the market's doing. You invest into those. 30, 40 years from now, it will go up enough in value. You'll be able to retire with a reasonable retirement. And all I can say is 10 years of investing in a Roth IRA versus my 5 years of investing in real estate to where I now have 27 rental units and $8,000 a month in profit cash flow. My portfolio continues to grow. If I liquidated the Roth IRA and just paid off a couple of those rentals in a couple more rentals, I'd jump to like $12,000 a month. The Roth IRA and the stock plan is garbage. I have awful years. It was mostly good years at first. Then we hit the pandemic. And oh, look at that, the market tanked. And then it recovered. Oh, inflation. Oh, what the Fed's doing. What are the values of the mutual funds worth? Oh, up, down, up, down. You know what's been remarkably consistent? My freaking rent and rent growth. And the only time it's not consistent is when it's spiking straight up to the moon. So the real estate crushes the stocks. Again, my personal experience as someone who's been doing stocks for 10 years. Pound cent fire community.
So you actually make a very valid point on with your retirement account. And so I want to clarify this. I'm doing a live, so I have a video coming out. I'm doing a live stream Thursday on the 3 biggest mistakes people make if they want to retire early. One of them, and so you get a teaser here, is the retirement account thing. Like I did it. And I'm going to talk about 3 mistakes I made, and they're not marriages, although I made several of those mistakes. But one of the 3 top mistakes that people make if they want to retire early, not retire. Retirement accounts make absolute sense if you want to retire after 60. Right? If you want to retire broke, so you're in a lower tax bracket, and if you automatically think that the government is going to make taxes less in the future, then they make absolute sense. But if you want to retire early, the biggest mistake that people make is those retirement accounts. And it's not a stock thing. It's not a real estate thing. You can own a retirement account with REITs. You can own a retirement account that you self-direct. You can do all these things that I think are absolute mistakes. Don't empty your retirement account out and buy a rental. Because your first, second, maybe third deal is when we tend to make all of our mistakes and lose money. But if you're in Mike's position, like I was in 2020, you have a few rentals under your belt, right? You've got some experience. You know how to property manage. You know how to do your house hack. You've got your legs under you. You know, have confidence in your ability to get the yield you're expecting when you buy a rental. In 2020, I emptied out my retirement account and bought a triplex. Mike, now with your experience, if you empty it out, yes, you can drastically increase your cash flow. You can tackle debt. You could buy new assets. You could do all this. I paid the taxes. No problem. Didn't care. Because the yield and the tax benefits of a rental are far superior to those of a retirement account. Because there are three groups of people getting rich off of your retirement account, and none of them are you. Those three groups I'll be talking about in that video on Thursday. Oculus makes a great point here. The common person can reach FI, but it is uncommon to do what is necessary. The first 5 years suck, live below your means, buy assets, do the work, etc. Absolutely, totally agree. Darnell, howdy, asked the question here. How do I become a member? I need this deal action. Thank you for asking that, Darnell. The reason I don't do it here on YouTube is because right now there's 90 people watching this live stream. And there will be hopefully a couple of thousand in the next couple of days who watch this live stream. They wouldn't watch more than a minute if they were looking to be entertained on their way home from work today. And they opened up a YouTube video and it was somebody looking at an email saying, this is what my agent sent me. Let me look at this property. Let's look at the market. Let's look at the area. Let's look at the economic drivers. Let's look at the things that would be a deal breaker for me. Now let's look at the physical aspects of the property. We might run the numbers to know the math, but the math is only a step. Now we're going to look at the physical aspects that are going to help limit tenant turnover, make it easier to rent out, make my life better by owning this asset. That whole logic train is for the members, the people who know that's what we're logging in to do. To join, if there's not a join button on your device, because it's either Apple or Android, one of them doesn't have it. You have to log in on like a laptop or a computer, and there's a join button here on YouTube to become a member. And then we do 2 of those videos every month. This month, we're doing them after the live streams on Tuesdays. Often they happen on a Saturday. I try to move them around so we can catch different members. Then those members' videos are in YouTube Futureland to be watched anytime you want as a separate playlist. So hope to see you there. The Yoder's happy to see you. Justin, howdy. Ramsey put out a video today that said that everyone he knows who borrowed for real estate has gone bankrupt in 10 years or less. Comments, thoughts? Yes, everyone he knows that was in commercial lending, that did adjustable rate or short-term debt, can run into problems and is running into problems now. I absolutely don't think that I don't want to say anybody should. None of the investors that I know primarily focus on commercial real estate. Right? I think there's only one of the experts that comes on Michael Zuber's channel that really focuses on that, and I've never interacted with him because he doesn't like that. I don't think people should have an LLC, so he called me some names, and I don't know why he doesn't talk to me. I want to talk to him. At least there was an attorney that went on there and debated me and had an open mind to it. And like made some valid points. But this other one, so yeah, I don't know anybody who has fixed rate debt right now that's not ecstatic that they bought real estate. You either bought in 2020 or you refinanced in 2020, and you have interest rates, the lowest we're probably going to see for the next several decades on cash flowing assets with fixed rate debt. Ramsey puts out a lot of videos. I try not to attack Ramsey because he's got a strong base. And the people who follow Ramsey that need him, I don't want them to think that he's bad, because there is literally millions of people who need the, what's the name of his book? It's
Baby Steps.
So it's got 7 steps, but it's like, he's got a course and everything. If you're bad with money and you don't understand debt, he's great. If you have no investing strategy in real estate, he's great. He loses me with all of the, there's 3 types of debt. And he only talks about 2, and one of those he says doesn't exist. Right? He says that there's bad debt, so all debt is bad. It's the only one he talks about. The one of his main guys that's replacing him was on the iced coffee hour with Graham Stephan. And Graham Stephan said, hypothetical situation, somebody lends you $1 billion at 0% interest. Would you take it? And the guy said no. Right?
It's just dumb.
Inflation would make you millions of dollars in the next few
Dumb.
years. Right. So you lose me with that, but I do have, don't be over leveraged. I don't like adjustable rate debt. I don't want a loan reevaluation period. There's a big difference between 30 or 40-year fixed rate debt on an asset. He also says house hacking is a scam. Both of us are still house hacking. Most people are comfortable having roommates when they're renting. They're like, I'm renting, and if I rent a room out with somebody else, it'll be cheaper for me to rent here. But then as soon as they get a mortgage and it's their house, they're like, I was totally happy to have you help me pay someone else's mortgage, but don't you dare help me pay mine. And so a lot of people look at house hacking and they think roommates. Mike and I don't have roommates. I did in my fourplex. I did in my duplex.
I do.
You have your kid, right? Does that count as a
I got
roommate?
Darius. I got Darius.
Darius moved in now?
Yeah, Darius.
Tell me that.
Oh yeah, yeah. He
I
moved
haven't
in
been
a couple
invited
months
over
ago.
anymore, so I don't know these things.
Sorry, yeah, no, Darius moved in a couple. I've almost had a roommate the entire time I've ever lived here. Now it's been family most of the
Okay,
time.
right. Yeah. So family,
But
I had my son living with me for a while. That's what I call a roommate. Um, but a duplex, right? How often do you interact with the neighbors next door before you turn it into a short term, right? Like you probably saw them once in a while.
Mhm. Yeah, it
When
was
I lived in
almost
my fourplex, I saw the people in unit 4 more than I saw anybody else. For some reason, we just interact with each other. Um, what about a house with an ADU? This is no different than having a neighbor, except you got to screen them.
mhm.
So, Justin, that's a great point. I'm a Ramsey fan in that he helps a lot of people. I think he's hypocritical when Ramsey says all debt is bad. Yes, at 26, he went into $1 million of debt with 90-day debt, 90-day resetting debt. He's comparing 90-day to 30-year fixed. Oculus says Sergeant cash flow, and that's because I think somebody said you're possibly going to be captain soon, right?
Me? No, absolutely not. Sergeant. Just got a promotion. Yeah, sorry, I will retire a sergeant. I'll never sell out. I won't drink the Kool-Aid. You can't go any higher than that. You know how it is. I don't know if the military is different, but in law enforcement, you've got your line officer and your frontline supervisor is a sergeant. Everybody above that, they sold out.
Well, so in the military, at least in the Marine Corps, and my perception, which is very limited, you have officers who went to school and get all the credit for the staff NCOs who actually coordinate and do all of the work. And then you have the NCOs who actually do the work.
Right.
The only officers that really haven't sold out, I would say, are warrant officers. Right? In my opinion, all the warrant officers I interacted with earned it. Well, the officers I worked with went to college. We all know how important that is in life.
Right.
Drop out and retire early. It's Millennial Mike and Dion, the two gods of real estate.
Thanks, man.
Drop out and retire early said something earlier, and I think I missed it.
Oh, dude, he's gonna leave you 400 comments, bro. He's the man.
Okay.
He's very opinionated and will defend Dave Ramsey to the end, but he is also an extreme big supporter of us. So he's a good guy.
I defended him. I said he's great advice for people who need him. But for the investor, like I think Dave Ramsey's first step, third step, and seventh step are amazing. Everything in the middle, stupid. One of the things he recommends is one of the 3 things that people do wrong if they want to retire early. And it's not the retirement accounts, which he also recommends. Mike has to wear sunglasses at night like a tweaker because you've been up all night. It was Wayne who said maybe captain soon. There you go. The wealth building journey. How large was the dish? Not too big. He was kind of short. Mean guy, though. Loved him. Still love you, Dad. And based on the jokes I make, I'll see you soon. Jada, hey, Dion, for my first rental, would you recommend for me to do Section 8, military, or working or retired? First rental. So, whenever somebody says, what would you buy? A single family house, a duplex, a fourplex, or up to maybe 8 units because I want fixed rate debt. I would say hunt for deals, buy the best deal that pops up, right? You find a single family house that cash flows in your area and it has the right yield, jump on it. If you find a fourplex that you can house hack and has the right yield, you jump on it, right? So you're hunting for the right deal. You've learned the asset that matches your market. I think you hunt in your market. And since I'm a fan of the binder strategy, it's my preference to buy already occupied properties. So if you find a property that would have the yield you want and it has a tenant in place, that tenant is the one you have first. Might be Section 8, might be military, might be working or retired. If you have a vacant place, I'd probably advertise and get military or working or retired first. Section 8 adds an extra layer of security, yes, guaranteed payments, but some hoops to jump through, some delay on getting it approved. And if you don't know your screening criteria yet for tenants, I think you can make some really bad decisions and say, well, the state's paying their stuff, so I don't need a credit score. If they're willing to be breaking a promise to Visa, what makes you think they're going to not break a promise to you on everything that's in your lease? So I still require the same credit score on Section 8 as I do not. Mike, first rental, would you do, if it's at a distance, I think all of yours are Section 8, right?
No, not all of them, but
Okay.
most of them are.
So first rental, Section 8, military, working or retired, what would you recommend?
It's going to be market specific. So I invest at a distance. I invest in cheaper markets. A lot of these markets are more economically struggling markets. It's not where all of the jobs are. I would even consider that city, the city of Gary, Indiana, a rental market. So I tell people Section 8 is what they want to move towards because that's guaranteed money from the government. But not all markets are considered the same. In some markets, Section 8 is way below what the fair market value rent of a property is. Now, that's gone away mostly in the last couple of years because of the housing crisis and the government trying to compete with people out there, which again is more reason why people need to buy houses because you're competing with the government. That sucks when it comes to rent, at least. If Section 8 is way below fair market rent, then you should probably go with a fair market tenant. Also, you need to look at what the relationship is like between you and the Section 8 program in your city, because not all housing authorities are created equal. The city of Gary, a couple of years back, had the entire housing authority department completely fired from the ground up, all of them, for corruption. And I know Dion has his own stories about how he likes one county versus another county right here where he lives. So you can't just blanket statement say, I recommend this for your first thing, because that might not be what you want to do. What I tell people is they need to network with other investors in the city that they're interested in investing at. For me in Gary, Indiana, I talked to a bunch of people before I bought my first rental, and I got their perspective and was able to avoid a lot of the potholes along the way that I could have been tripped up with or gotten a flat tire from. So that's what I would recommend. The only unilateral advice I give for a first-time investor is, hey, the first thing you should do is probably house hack. Because if you eliminate your largest monthly expense, which is your living expense, your rent or your mortgage, if you eliminate that or take it as close to zero as possible, well, then it frees up all the rest of that money you were putting towards that expense and allows you to save it and buy more real estate. But when it comes to investing in other markets or what should I buy first or single family versus multi-units, it's going to be market specific. You need to do your research.
Good answer. I see drop out and retire early. I actually had the comment here. I was buying houses back in Portland when they were all under 150,000. That's the point. I mean, I wouldn't want to own in Portland now, but where's the next place that's going to be better 5 or 10 years from now? That's the magic thing that nobody really knows. But prices are expensive in the places that have the big box chain stores, the amenities, the internet. Housing is very unaffordable there. With remote work right now, 56% of Americans have to leave the house and work in the office. 56% have to work in the office. Let's go through the stat on that. 44% have remote jobs. That's a lot of people that can move to a more affordable place. The stat that keeps getting put out is, oh yeah, remote jobs is nothing. It's only, 56% of people still have to go to the office. Flip that. 44% can live anywhere or hours from work if they only have to go in once or twice a week. But still, that's why I bought the place that I'm in now. Rents here in Kitsap County pushed up because the people from King County and Pierce County that only have to go to the office once or twice a week now can move out an hour, but they don't want to buy. Because what if they get called back to the office next year? So the rent demand went up, prices didn't. Property prices, not rents. Matt, I see you're jumping into the comments. Let me know if you want an invite. You're always welcome on Tuesdays.
He's just chilling on his couch at home with 4 kids on him right now.
We'd get them all in the background. They could climb in. I want to see them punch them in the face.
Uh,
Alantino makes a great point. The worst thing than being broke is being old and broke. Yes, that is true. Strider, howdy. Dropout and Retire asks if we've read the book Landlording on Autopilot, written by Mike Butler, that owned 70 rental houses and was a full-time cop. He even managed all 70. Best real estate book. Thoughts? Have you?
I hadn't even heard of it until now. So
I think I've heard of the Landlording on Autopilot. Didn't know it was a cop. Never listened to it. But I'm the guy who had that copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book, the actual copy, Rich Dad Poor Dad, sitting on a shelf. Talked to several people about it for 5 years, way before being an investor, saying, "Oh yeah, Robert Kiyosaki. He's that guy who wrote a book. It's got a Rich Dad Poor Dad. Totally get it." Never opened the book. Never cracked the cover until I decided to start looking at investing. And I see we got a super chat popped up from Brandon. Howdy. Monthly dues. That's absolutely not required. Much appreciated. The support is always appreciated. It lets YouTube know that somebody might like the content. Let me know, Brandon, if you have a question. I want to make sure I would get to it and not miss it.
and on that note, this is the first time you've crested over 100 people while live streaming in a little while. I think you're at
In a while,
106.
yeah. In the first year, I used to get a lot more live streams, and then people realized how ugly and sad I am. So it dropped down to around 70 every week. So I'm glad there are people here checking it out. This is what I do every Tuesday at 4 p.m. I don't always have somebody as intelligent as Mike here with me. I sometimes have smarter people and sometimes not so much. But we're here to answer your questions. This is, if you want to reach financial freedom, make work optional. What does an investor keep in top of mind awareness? Any one of us content creators can research a subject. We can tell you this is the difference between cash flow and yield and fixed rate debt versus adjustable rate, anything you want to research. But right now, if you asked us a question, we either know the answer because it's something we have to keep in our mind so that we can make quick decisions when we're making a decision on buying a rental or not buying a rental, or on an expense we're going to do. If you ask a question and we don't know the answer, that means you asked something that an investor doesn't need to know on a daily basis. This is the only way you can vet that. Lumberjack is watching hockey. Kids are all in bed. Awesome.
Side note, like the video, guys. 100+ viewers and like 40 something likes. Like the video. It really helps the algorithm. And Dion deserves it, man. He's working hard for you guys.
Hockey is one of them sports ball things, right?
Yeah. It's a sports puck thing.
Actually, I want to go and watch hockey. Anna, locally here, plays hockey, and I was going to go and watch her play, which I'm absolutely fascinated to go and
Anna
watch.
Kay plays hockey?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You've met her.
I cannot imagine her checking somebody.
Right? And then every time you meet her, you have to ask, like, where's the injury? Because the last time it was shoulder, and then so it's something different every time. So not only killing it in real estate, getting those rentals racked up, she's out on ice checking people is beautiful. Mrs. K,
as much as one of my legs.
what would you say could be the downside of scaling too quickly? We have several examples of this, and it's one of the reasons why I keep having the financial firefighter back on here, because he went right to the edge of scaling too quickly, and he gives some really good, hey, these things could happen. So, Mike, examples of scaling too quickly. What could go wrong?
Well, Senya, Mrs. K, I don't know. Maybe we had this conversation before you scaled too quickly and you were like, I'm going to buy as much as I can, as fast as I can, including if I have to borrow from my family and friends and everything. And I said, well, hold on, Senya, wait just a second. What if, and I'm very proud of you for getting to like 6 buildings purchased in a 4-month period. It's amazing. I'm glad that after 2 years of sitting on the sidelines, you finally decided to dive in. I'm very proud of you. But here's the thing. Part of the process of owning real estate is you got to do more than just buy. You have to buy, stabilize, and optimize. And so if you buy so much and you don't focus on the stabilization period and the optimization period, you're just stacking up a lot of mortgage payments you got to pay, but you have no tenants yet to pay them. And I've told you, it can take 6 weeks to 8 weeks to find good tenants. To find the right tenant, good tenants, especially if you're looking in January and February, which is when you bought your first couple of properties, you could be looking for a while. And so my advice, just like I've chatted with a financial firefighter, is there's nothing wrong with buying a bunch of real estate, but get them stabilized at least, if you've got 2 or 3 that are vacant, probably get those ones filled up before you go buy 4 and then 5. And yeah, it's going to slow you down a little bit. It's not going to slow you down that much. Might be a month or 2. But I would want to see actual rents coming in from the properties that I've purchased, because at some point those mortgage payments start to add up and it's going to be hard to support with your normal job. So that would have been my advice. And if, of course, what's the problem if you don't do it? Well, the problem if you don't do it is you get a whole bunch of mortgage payments and nobody's paying them. And then, roof. Whoops, plumbing. Crap, foundation. Something will happen and you're stuck on your little lonesome dipping into your reserves instead of allowing the cash flow from those rental properties to pay for the problem. 8, not 6. Sorry, Senya. She just corrected me. 8, not my
right.
bad.
Scaled faster too quick.
8.
Right.
My bad. Wow.
In the first 2 years, one of the actual tangible issues that can pop up if you scale too fast is lending requirements. Right. In those first 2 years before you have rental income on your tax returns, your debt to income ratio and salary are a large factor in your ability to acquire the next loan, which is a check put in place in the checks and balances list of lenders trying to make sure that you know how to do certain things like find, screen, and place tenants that are actually going to pay their rent, right? What screening criteria do you have? Because a lot of new investors, and like I'm super proud of Josh and Mary, the REI stoners that are now Martin Properties. Bought a duplex, they're living in one side, house hacking it, renting out the other, got it ready. They were screening for tenants and they asked a few questions, and that's what I encourage everybody to do. I put my email in the chat often. You should email me with questions. And actually, Josh and Mary and I have met several times, and they were talking about criteria and what if we're not finding the right tenant. And I think there was almost a month and a half where they could have placed several tenants that didn't meet their criteria. Because when you're scaling so fast, the payments matter. Right, you have that gap where you don't have a mortgage, but if you're doing the rehab and you've got several more months where the mortgage is going out and you don't have rent coming in, that can be very stressful. So the idea is, if I just get somebody in there, it'll be better. And remember these words: it is better to have a hole on your team than to have an a-hole on your team. So Josh and Mary taking that extra month and a half to screen and get the right tenant. And actually, because they get the tenant, they get that first one and you get the deposit and you get the rent and you're like, oh, okay, this is great. And then Josh and Mary learned that the instant stress change doesn't go away is, now are they going to pay next month? Or did I just place a professional tenant? None of us know in that first month. Yeah. But when you have the right screening criteria, now you know you're placing tenants that are, if they've worked really hard to get their credit score up, they don't have evictions, you've verified work so that you've had a chance to catch them in a lie if that's not where they work, and you've done all of these things, and you learn those skills to do that. Yeah, that takes a little bit of time. So the first issue that pops up if you scale too fast is lending. Second, what if you're self-managing? And when I first started, I had one tenant, felt like it took 20 hours a week. Now I have 16 tenants. It takes less than 2 hours a month to manage them. So let's go, okay, let's remove that. Let's hire a property manager. Let's go to Millennial Mike at a distance with the property manager, or Mike Zuber with the property manager, because 2.5 hours away from day one, never managed a rental property. Zuber didn't. But he went through 5 property managers to finally kiss all of the frogs to find the Prince company that was a good enough property manager to keep. If you scale quickly, that can be a really big financial burden, changing property managers like that, especially if there's reasons why you're changing them. So thank you, Senya. Great question. I see Lindsay. Howdy, Lindsay. I might have pronounced it wrong. Don't usually catch the live, but wanted to say thanks for all the content. Thank you so much. It's cool when people can make the live. I like the questions like this. These questions are awesome. This is why I come back. Actually, I'm going to share in a little bit why I make this content, just in case I haven't done that in a while. But it's here in Futureland. So, Lindsay, if you ever have questions, you can email me. I'm going to put my email in the chat. You can send it to me. And I will answer you via email any question. Or if it can't make it to the live stream, I will...
You just get a shot glass.
Must be 5 o'clock here. My 5 o'clock shot showed up. Yes, it's my shot glass. It's a skull because I like the skull vodka. Sorry, threw off the Emperor's Groove. Lindsay, in case you can't make the lives, you can always email me. My email's in the chat right there. I will answer your questions in a separate video or in another live stream in the future. Thank you for the support. It's much appreciated. So, everybody, grab your glasses to Lindsay.
Salute. Mine's full of stuff.
Your pencil's gonna fall out.
Yeah. I want to know when we're going to get some Dion merchandise, because as you can see, I'm wearing this very nice lumberjack landlord shirt. I've got my one rental at a time book, and nobody knows that I love Dion tattooed on my heart. I won't show anybody, but what we need is some merchandise. And I'm thinking, fine, I want a shirt that says, ask me how I'm doing. And on the back, it says, I'm doing just fine. Financial independence, no excuses. Boom. I want that. I'd buy that shirt.
Here's what. Did I tell you I'm working on the book?
No.
Yes. So, but I'm going to do it with one rental at a time.
You're going to publish under his brand?
Go through Zuber, present it with him. So this is me breaking the fourth wall, letting you know that's coming. If I do a shirt, if I do fine, I'm going to put it on Zuber stuff. I don't need to make any money from it. He does a shirt every month, right? So there's some scarcity. He talked about it in his update this morning. I think we do. You don't want to reach financial freedom? Fine. And have Zuber put it out as one of his shirts.
I like it. I like it. We could also monetize the Dion Talk Financial Freedom. Just try to steal the DTF.
Are you DTF?
Are you DTF? Exactly. Wait, what? Now I have an excuse to use that with people. No, sweetie, I swear, I was just asking if you were listening to this guy who talks about financial freedom, unless,
right?
Unless.
I see Mrs. K. Senya took back a message to make me lose sleep forever and ever and wonder what was said. That's appreciated. Sleep's overrated. And then I lost where I was in the chat. Millennial Mike has put me in quite the situation. He makes my shirt look better than me. So I want to ask him to take it off. That is against what I believe too. Damn it. Well done, Millennial Mike.
Yeah, they'd see my Dion, I love Dion tattoo, which that's just for you and me.
Have you put out your cowboy video yet?
No, I haven't posted that one yet. Yeah. Oh, yikes. That was before I got the tattoo. That was before.
Nice. I'm making sure I'm not missing any questions here. London buses. I'm new here and I want to connect with someone in Baltimore, DC, Maryland, and Virginia market. Thanks, Chester. Wealth building journey. I don't know if he's here tonight, but he is in that general area and he is looking to do rent by the room. Clint, start young in investing or good luck. Social Security is not enough. Social Security is looking at being reduced by 23% in, I think, 2034. So
as it should. As it absolutely should. I know it's unpopular, but it should.
There are two things that I think are important with Social Security. First, make it not matter. You want cash flowing assets to where if you get Social Security, great. It's a bonus. And two, take it as early as possible. Unless you still have earned income at 62 and you hit that $15,000 a year, which is not the case with real estate because of depreciation and write-offs, it'll be less than zero on paper. The math doesn't check out if you wait to take Social Security. If you take it at 67, it takes 11.6 years to break even with the amount of money that you got from 62 to 67 if you took it early. So that means you'd be 76.6 years old when you finally broke even. But making it not matter, making it not count, making it not needed is the most important thing. Drop out and retire early. I want to read this because you said he's a Dave Ramsey fan. And he said, like he said, everyone he knows, Dave is the best at real estate, but he doesn't know everyone. Okay. He's the best at real estate because he makes tens of millions of dollars a year and he can invest and buy all cash. So of course he's great. Do you? Does Mike? Do I? No. Is there a way to invest in real estate if you don't make millions and millions of dollars a year? Yes. With levered depreciation, appreciation, It's not only possible, but easier. I always laugh when people are leveraged and they waste their time and money when they are broke and there is nothing to protect. Yes, leverage is a great form of asset protection. Good point. Oculus. I have a tenant who wants his girlfriend to move in. I told him we needed to add her to the lease. She has a cat, run her credit, pet fee, or deposit. What else should I be thinking of? So I've had similar situations to this, Mike. Have you ever dealt with anything like that?
Somebody wanting to move in pets or move in a significant other.
Move in a girlfriend who has a cat.
Yeah, literally had that exact problem, and you just or well, it wasn't a girlfriend, it was a dude moving in his sister who had a cat, and we ran her credit check just like we would the regular tenant, and then we took an extra security deposit for the cat, and they were no problem. They moved into the duplex next door. They were there for like a year until they all moved out.
The only caveat I have to that is if you're moving somebody in, so whenever I'm renting to a person, they either have to meet my criteria with credit score or they have a co-signer that meets my criteria with a credit score. So let's say the girlfriend was moving in and her credit was below the threshold of what I would accept, but his was above it, or vice versa. Guy, girl, doesn't matter that, but whichever one is moving in. They sign a new lease, and the person who has the matching credit score that I need is the co-signer for the one who doesn't, meaning that if that person moves out, the other person doesn't qualify. So you have to know your local laws on what's allowed. But yes, new pet deposit, non-refundable pet fee. You can't charge a non-refundable pet deposit because that voids your entire lease, right? There's a term for it, like it's in my lease too. But if anything in the lease is not legal, the whole lease is not legal. And a deposit, by definition, is refundable. So you can't say non-refundable deposit. It has to be non-refundable pet fee. And then you can charge pet rent. But beware, you're probably going to get an ESA certificate and not be able to charge either of those.
This is my emotional support tarantula. I've literally seen it.
We had an emotional support parrot came through.
But you know what? That's actually a little bit more believable because parrots are pretty darn smart. They can talk. And also, dude, I had to break up with a chick over a bird one time because I found out these things live for 40 years. And I was like, there ain't no way. There's no way. I'm not going to ask her to get rid of the bird. She had the bird for years, but there's no free, like, at least with a dog or a cat, you don't like it. All right, it'll leave eventually. Bird might outlive me with my life decisions. Not happening. I think
the toucan is like a 75-year bird too. So,
oh, how do they, man, that's crazy. That is wild.
60 now. So he started when he was 57. There you go. So going to be alive in 5 years too. Rob asked Hyder what state he's in now because he left Gary, right? I saw the last day in Gary that was supposed to happen. Drop out and retire early says you look tired. Did you work last night or do you work tonight?
I worked tonight. I didn't work last night, but I'll tell you what, working night shift, 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. after being on days. I had all the seniority to be on day shift, and then I promoted. Now I'm the new guy again at the new rank. So that means I worked a crappy shift. So I work 7 p to 5 a, and it sucks. I mean, it's great because I get to go back out there with all the young guys who actually want to work hard, and it's just, man, we're getting into all the fun stuff, which is awesome. And of course, they're also young guys, so they're getting into all the fun stuff, which means that I've got copious amounts of paperwork approving stuff, and but it's tiring. I'm an old man now. You know, what do you do?
And that's why you went SWAT and I went scuba search and rescue. You want to be a lazy cop? There is a lazier than lazy cop level that you can get to. What do you want to do? Go out there and wait 6 hours, sit in your thing, and we'll let you know if we need you to dive today or not. Okay, cool. Let me take out an audiobook.
Yeah.
Disciple asks, who were the stock YouTube channels you recommended to check out? I put it in the comments, but for those people listening, I listened to Joe Kuhn, not because I'm a stock investor, and he is. He actually taught me something about YouTube, and he taught me something about retiring early. So retiring early, Joe talks about retiring to something, not from something. So that's very important to me. What are you going to do once you retire? To me, it's travel. It's help other people reach financial freedom. Right? That's what I'm going to. So I wasn't leaving something. I actually loved the job that I had and stayed for 4 years longer than I needed to. But listening to Joe, I realized that there is more to life, and that if you retire to something, early retirement can be amazing. And then Azul, I don't know why I listen to him. He's just entertaining, and he's mostly a stock guy, and he's a financial advisor to things that I'm not involved with at all, but they have a ton of knowledge on their industry. Um, Joe Kuhn has the buckets method. He explains very well, better than I ever will. I would hope that someday I can have him on my channel so he can explain the bucket method to the people who watch my content who aren't into real estate, or who people who make that mistake and diversify into like stocks and real estate and retirement accounts and all of that. That's a mistake. Don't do it. Focus on one thing until you reach financial freedom or wealth, and then diversify to protect it. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully you're still around. Old guy RAI. It doesn't matter how much I would have had in retirement. It matters that I will have much more. Exactly. That was kind of why Zuber started investing. He wanted to get to 4 rentals because he figured his retirement would be better. Jeffrey White. Howdy. Is that the same Jeffrey White as PTO for life?
Jeff and Sulika. Yep. PTO for life.
What do you think of a property with foundation issues? It has some stair cracks in the exterior foundation, waves and some floor settling in the floors. I usually don't mess with foundation issues. I would do at least a 10-day inspection period, and I would hire a foundation company or 2, not hire, maybe hire if they charged, to go give me a quote on what it takes. I just bought one, and it had a 3-inch deflection over a 10-foot period. So 10-foot length, 3-inch deflection. This is how monumentally, unaffordably expensive it was to fix that issue. $500.
Nice.
Fixing the foundation cost $500. Yes, there were some other issues, and I've spent thousands of dollars on other things, but the foundation issue was a fairly inexpensive fix. And you can find it, let's say it was 10 grand. They came in and said, oh, we could totally fix it. It'd be $10,000. What does that do to your cost to acquire? How does that compare to your annual profit? What does your yield turn out like? So, does it need a roof? Does it need all new windows? Does it need all new plumbing or all new electric? Does it have foundation issues? All of those are expenses. Not one of those expenses would kill a deal for me, but any one of those expenses could kill a deal for me. Hopefully that's how you would look at it. Rob says mimosas. Nice. I know. I'm not a champagne guy. Mimosa. That's what's in a mimosa, right? I think.
I've never had one.
No idea. You've never tasted alcohol.
Nope, not my entire life. I ain't
Because
starting now. You can't get me. My vice is women, not booze.
I was going to point out that, you have very strong beliefs that say no alcohol, no caffeine, or not caffeine, right? There you have caffeine.
I drink Dr. Pepper. I love Dr.
Dr. Pepper, there you go.
I don't drink coffee.
But that premarital sex thing, that's okay.
Look.
It is the menu order number of beliefs.
Listen here.
Howdy. Hey, I'm backing off that. I'm getting all the way off your back with that thing. Being on my path to fine makes me walk around the office with a big ass smile. I would totally agree, Michelle. Awesome. Congratulations. You just completed a 1031. We did some videos on your 2 duplexes. You turned 1 place into 2 places, increased your cash flow. It was a killer move. And you made an offer on a place on McKinley Avenue, which I've talked about near Tacoma, Washington. And you had a nanosecond of genius, and you backed out of that deal. Good job. Proud of you. Troy, howdy. I just want people to know whenever I see a comment, I just start reading. I haven't read through these, so there's possible gotchas. You never know. I'm with Mike. I'm a truck driver doing LTL for Northwest Regional. I want to retire myself so that I can have more time to my family, but more so to reinvest my time into other businesses I start. Absolutely. That's the other thing I have a problem with, the financial independence, retire early. That means retire early. It's financial independence to anything. That could be another business. That could be helping other people reach the same goals. It could definitely be spending more time with your kids, right? Because after I did the video on tripling your life, I did a video on the number 19. The number 19 is why you need to retire early. If you haven't seen that video and you want a Cliff Notes version, let me know in the comments. Alantino, lots of great hobbies that you can finally explore, and also volunteer at organizations that can use your experience and help. Absolutely, totally agree. We should make a list one day of all the things you can do if you retire early. The things that you can do when money doesn't matter. And let's take a really simple example. If you're in Europe and somebody says, okay, I live in Germany, I'm German, and they'll say, well, how many countries have you been to? Have you experienced France? Have you been to Spain? Have you seen England? Have you gone, like, all of these things? Everything I just named would fit inside Texas.
Mm-hmm.
If you live inside the United States, how many states have you been to? How many have you just gone? I went and spent 2 months in Florida to learn the real estate market and scuba dive with a friend, just for the heck of it. I'm going to go and spend 6 months in Thailand. What cultures have you spent time learning? State cultures, even if you don't want to travel to other countries. Because believe me, when you go from Washington to Louisiana, you are in a different country.
Yep.
Jesse, howdy. I appreciate you, Dion. You're such a good teacher. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm good at teaching the things I understand, and I try not to teach the things I don't understand. Parenting or relationships. Because I feel like I was successful with my actual obligation as a parent to make sure that half of my offspring made it to the age of 18. I think I nailed that.
You got half.
You know what's bad when Dion tells you have been, yeah, you saw that earlier. Okay, Strider. I just screw it, you guys pop up in my head and I get up and start pushing again. That's the whole point. I used to have CDL students come to me and say, I passed my test. Because when I was on my test, I had your stupid voice in my head saying, have you looked in your mirrors lately? Or whatever the situation was. Chunda, howdy. Howdy, Dion. How long would you wait before filing for an eviction? The tenant keeps on saying they will pay soon.
Day one.
Would you? So, right. Okay. So day one, two things happen. Three things happen. The first thing is an educational conversation before the point of a tenant being late with their rent happens. When signing a lease, I explain to tenants, if your rent is due on the 1st, it's late after the 5th. So that means on the 6th, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to serve you with an eviction paper on the 6th as a favor because you're going to need it. There are rental assistant agencies out there who will not help you until you have an eviction paper in your hand. So there is nothing that can happen in your life that will not let me not serve you an eviction paper on the 6th. Doesn't matter what it is because it's going to happen to help you. Here's the other thing. Let's say you want to pay your rent a week late and I allow you to do that. And I say, okay, fine. Because your lease says you can do that. The late fees are this much every day. You can totally pay your rent late every month, a week late. It's not a lease violation. You just got to pay the late fees. But here's how the math of time works on tenants. Most people have 4 weeks to gather their resources together to get the rent for next month's payment. Most people, even people making $150,000 a year, live paycheck to paycheck. It's over half. So the majority of people. If we agree that your rent is paid a week late, we've now reduced that from 4 weeks to 3 weeks for your next rent payment, which means we're setting you up for failure. Because if you couldn't get it in 4 weeks now, you're not going to get it in 3 weeks then. So if the tenant keeps saying they're paying, Chenda, and you are past that day, I would serve. The laws are there to protect the tenant. They're also there to protect you. And that tenant might have some options that aren't available until you do that service. And this lets the tenant know that yes, when they call with a complaint about a safety issue, you are going to address it. You are going to follow and stick to the lease. You're not going to shut off their water because that's against the lease and the law in most places. But they're also going to follow the lease. And that's what the eviction laws are there for. So Mike said it, day one. Just because you've waited doesn't mean you need to wait more. You just have the papers served. I think we're going to be getting through the questions here and wrapping up pretty soon because we've got the members only coming on at 6 o'clock tonight. Can a tenant pay due rent during the eviction process going through court? And will that stop eviction process? I don't want to start with the lawyer, then the tenants pay. How does it work? Yes, they can. They can pay to catch up. It stops the eviction. They can make partial payments, and in a lot of areas that will start the process over for eviction. So what you need to do in my area, and so check if this works in yours, is if they make a partial payment because you've been accepting rent through PayPal, Venmo, Apple Cash, PayPal, cash, check, whatever it is, you take that money and you respond with an email, which is admissible in court, saying that this money is being held in a holding account, that you have not received it yet because the rent is not paid until it is paid in full as per the lease. But yes, retain an attorney. Evictions are a part of the cost of doing business. Drop out and retire early loves Matt. I do exactly what Dave says now. Yes, I started out leveraging, but now I'm struggling to explode Dave's way at the speed of cash. Nice and slow, slow and steady. Sam Farho, howdy. Can you talk about what red flags your agent can find you on a property on county record? Red
Well,
flags on county. What would your
yeah, you
what
can
would
find
can your
problems.
agent find?
Yeah, you can find problems with title. You can find problems with zoning. Oh, we've got it's being sold as a sevenplex. It's zoned for 4 units. Well, that's a problem. Oh, it's being sold as a single family, but it was zoned for more units, You can find problems with the title. Oh, they bought it from a tax deed, but they haven't quieted the title yet. So there's still a chance that somebody could maybe come back and pay the taxes and you could lose the property, but then they would just have to pay you what you paid with interest. But if you transferred it after a sale, it wouldn't work. That was probably convoluted and annoying, but that's types of stuff that your agent could find for you. They can start checking on the title. They can see what it's zoned as. They can make sure that it's actually the property on that you're looking at actually matches like the parcel ID and all that type of stuff. And the title company should also be looking at all of that for you during the actual transaction.
They can also check for thing like when was a survey done or requested, and or a grievance with a property line. There's a ton of things. For me, it's I have them check to so the listing might say that there's no HOA. I have my agent verify that there's no HOA because I won't follow through with anything on an HOA. Trying to think of what other things that can pop up. It's almost an unlimited list. What's the age of the roof or anything. They can ask questions, especially if something went under contract and fell out. You want your agent to reach out and say, why? I mean, they might not get the full story, but they might get something that is a red flag to you or was a red flag to somebody else, but is something you're worth dealing, you don't have a problem dealing with. And I lost where I was in the chat because I saw something I wanted to read. It's a question.
You were at late start wealth. What are your thoughts on a duplex hack at 10% yield versus quadplex at 12%? But it would take 10-month more savings to get the quadplex. More important to get into something good or something great?
What are the odds the fourplex is going to be there in 10 months?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
My properties go fast. So it's the deal that pops up that you can afford that I would go for.
Right.
Because there's two things that tell you when to buy. It's not the market, it's not prices, it's not rents, it's not rates. It's just these two things. And it's never somebody telling you to hurry and buy, you should block them. Somebody telling you to wait and buy, all the crash bros, you should block them because there's no reason to wait and there's no reason to hurry. Either one of those will cost you. The first thing that tells you when you're going to buy is, are you ready? Have you saved the down payment, closing costs, immediate repairs, money for reserves, all the things that's going to be required for the lender? And have you studied your market so that you know when you can recognize a good deal? So you're ready. Also meaning that there's nothing major going on in your life, like a death, divorce, birth, job change, something that's taking your focus off of being able to find that great deal. Are you ready? And the second thing, did you find a great deal? So if you found a duplex that you can get for 10% yield, and you found a fourplex that you might be able to get in 10 months, if it's still around at a 12% yield, I'd probably pounce on the duplex. That's actually what I've done. I made several videos over the last 2 years. You can go back and watch every single one where once I reached financial freedom, I told people I'm not looking for the next great deal. I'm looking for the best deal. I want to buy a fourplex. I want to put $250,000 down. I want it to be my first property I purchased for over $1 million. I'm going to hunt until I find it. And then I found a duplex that made more sense and I bought it and I'm living in it. What's the best deal that pops up when you are ready and you found a great deal? Is a 10% yield on a duplex in your area better than average? Does it beat the average return there? And does the duplex have everything else that you're looking for? The elements that help limit tenant turnover, like side by side, is preferable to over under in most cases. Does it have washer dryer hookups inside each unit? Is there plenty of parking for a duplex, which would mean at least 4 spots for a duplex? Math is step one of 20 steps to figure out, like we're going to in the members only tonight in 32 minutes from now, on whether we would pursue a property or not. Thank you for finding that for me, Matt. Drop out and retire early. Lord, when people tell me Dave sucks, that just tells me that they haven't listened to him enough, that they really just don't get him. Sure, Dave failed at first, but he's killing it now. Yes, with a following making millions of dollars a year, he can invest. So when you do that, invest the way he does. Before that, all you're doing is adding decades to the number of years you need to work. And for questions, Esther, howdy. The morning goes so fast. Take my time doing things that I always rushing when still working. We'll get used to flex those schedules. Yes, Esther retired last year, or the beginning of this year. Your husband retired at the beginning of last year. So you guys are just now getting used to that retired life, having those rentals in Moses Lake. You have to let me know. Did you finally find something in Pierce or Thurston County? Because you guys started looking here. That retired life takes some getting used to. Because I don't know, Mike. When is the last time you can remember that you woke up because you just felt like it? Like it's time for my body to get up. Not I have a schedule, I have a kid, I have a whatever that you have to get up for.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if you take if because my son will wake me up before he was born, so 7 years ago maybe.
So Dropout and Retiree says I have a Teamster pension and a paid off rentals. Paid off rentals aren't bad. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying the person that's starting right now might benefit from leverage, but not over leveraging. Rob says to borrow against your 401k funds and buy another house hack to live in. I don't care if you need to sell a kidney. I'm telling you, you should be in your second house hack already. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Just keep buying too much real estate in Indiana. I bought a duplex last week, a fourplex the week before. Sue me.
So Jada, in our 10-year journey of real estate investing, at what year can we stop being frugal? Sixth year, eighth year? For me, it was year eight. That's when I started buying stupid cars and taking month-long vacations. I don't know that I mean, I was fairly frugal the first 5 years. Year 5 to 8 wasn't as frugal. I mean, I started house hacking right away. But year 8 is when I started saying, okay, cash flow from the rentals is far above my freedom number, and it's far above my W-2 income. I started buying the newer cars and the better cars. I actually downgraded to just enough a 10-year-old. No, it's not 10 now, but it was like 8-year-old F-150 when I retired because I'm going to be gone so much. It was the thing to do at the time. Mike, at what point in your investing journey, because you're in
my fifth year.
fifth year now, because 2018 you started, right?
Yep.
When will you stop being frugal?
Interesting question. I was hyper frugal at the beginning. It has eased up over time, but I would say that I'm still very frugal. I still drive a car that's 20 years old. I've got a pickup truck that's over 20 years old. I do all my shopping at Walmart, or the lumberjack landlord gives me free t-shirts because I'm broke. I live in a 1,000 square foot, 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath, half of a duplex with a roommate. I don't live lavishly. I'll occasionally I'll take a vacation. It's just for my son. I have taken 2 vacations in his life, and that's it. And it was like a week-long trip to a sunny place. And I literally took those for him so he could have the experience, not so that I could. And those are like 2 of the only vacations I've taken my entire life. But Dion and I did a series of shorts that we should probably redo at some point. And it was, when did you first know you were rich? And for me, it was when I went into a restaurant and sat down and didn't order water. I said, you know what? I'm going to be a high roller. I'm getting myself a Dr. Pepper. And I was in Walmart the other day with my brother Joseph, and I said, you know what? This is another moment when I first realized I was rich. Because it used to be when I would shop through Walmart, I would only buy the Walmart brand of everything, right? Because that was, I had to get the cheapest version. And then at some point along the way in my path to financial freedom, as I was easing up on being hyper frugal, I just stopped looking at what stuff cost and just bought what I wanted because I no longer had to be that concerned with which ketchup or which brand of yogurt or which type of cereal. I was a multi-meal guy since I was born. That was the bagged version of cereal that was cheaper than the boxes, and you got more. Unfortunately, if you go to the store now, you'll see that you're like, because of inflation and shrinkflation, you get less and it's ridiculously expensive. My formerly $3 bag of cereal is like $9. That's ridiculous. But anyways, always the generic Kirkland signature brand wish.com version of everything. But now, occasionally, I'll money up for something good, like a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I don't think people believe me when I say things like that me and you felt rich the first time we went to a restaurant and had a soda, because I go out to eat with people all the time. And I watch people go, I'm going to take the $20 meal, but I want to sub this thing, which is $5. I want to exclude this thing that I'm paying for, but I'm not going to get. And then I want this $15 alcoholic drink or $18 alcoholic drink. which is as much as that drink is as much as the meal I'm getting. But the first time I thought, okay, I'm going to get a soda with my meal. I was like, oh, I must be rich now. John
That,
Tennyson, welcome
wait,
to
hold up. Shout out to
Mentorship.
Beth Traverso. I'll never be as unfrugal as her. Dion and I went out to dinner with Beth Traverso a couple times in Vegas. We were sweating bullets because if we were excited about a Dr. Pepper, Beth knows how to live it up.
So, and what's funny is Beth has a frugal mindset. Like I've seen her, right? She's not, doesn't spend things extravagantly, but she knows what to enjoy in life. And kind of like the Northwest Action Summit that's coming up in May 3rd and 4th. It's at a hotel where the two restaurants in the hotel are El Gauchos and 13 Coins. We're going to find the closest Denny's. And I think we should have like a Denny's meetup
Exactly.
in Vancouver, Washington. May.
And I went to one last year. I went to a Denny's in the middle of the night. Right, it was in Portland, but it's just right across the water. So I know where the Denny's is I'm going to. I walked to it.
So let me steal the show here for like the next 3 minutes, and then we're getting back to the questions. I'm gonna prove to everybody how much it sucks to know me because of my memory issues. Right? I know that there are people who are like, oh, my kid is at soccer practice and I didn't pick him up. I gotta go. And I'm the person that goes, I think I have kids. Mike and I were at the Northwest Action Summit last year, and you had a friend with you. We talk in 1 minute. We say, okay, we're going to go to this after hours meetup at this place across the water where we're going to meet. And you said, I'm going to go to my room. Let me know when you're ready, and we'll go with you. 60 seconds later, I go and I get in my car, and I drive over to that meetup. And about halfway through, I message you and I go, hey, thought you were coming to this thing. I am still sorry about
That's all
that.
good. I was like,
It'll
oh,
happen this year, so don't
well, that's
plan
what
it
that
on
means.
happening that way.
Dude, you're my ride this year. We're driving down and back together.
There
So
you go.
don't get halfway to Portland or halfway home
You
without
should
me.
put a tracker in my car so you know when it starts. I think he's leaving. Okay. Laura Semeniago, howdy. Thank you for the comment on my video on the one where there was all the negative comments. Yours is one of the positive ones. It's much appreciated. Once the numbers didn't make sense in my area, I house hacked. Life changer. Thank you. It absolutely is. And then Justin, howdy. I have to admit to something, Mike. I went to a Hold'em game the other day that you were invited to. And you've seen me play Hold'em. We went and play Hold'em. When I go to a card game, I tend to throw it about 20 minutes in. I don't want to be the person who is financially successful, financially free, doing okay on YouTube, and then wins at the poker game, right? So I'm kind of like, I'm going to play a little bit. Robin Hood, throw it all out. You won at Robin Hood.
Yeah.
So we go, and I've got like, I don't know, there's a picture of it on Facebook.
I
I've got
saw it from Justin.
eight to 10 chips left. And Justin took out three people in a Hold'em game all in one hand. So he's got this pile of chips. So then I sat there and I thought, it's Justin, though.
He's got 140 units. He can afford
Right, I
it.
think this is okay. So then we went head to head, and
I heard
we did
you.
my favorite. So thank you for that, Justin. It was very fun. But I also want to always give credit where credit is due. And Justin says, automagically is my new favorite Dionism. I actually got that from Matt the Lumberjack Landlord. The first couple of times I heard him say that, I thought that is a great word. Automagically is going to be worked into most of my sentences going forward. So if you've heard it from me, that was the origin. And then Dropout, who is a Dave Ramsey fan, who Dave Ramsey says house hacking is a scam, run away from anybody who says they do it, says that you are house hacking and have been for years, and it is a life changer and it is making you a bunch of money. So good job. Matt, I'm a special agent with the Diplomatic Security Services. Nearing the end of my career, I've lived in 6 different countries investing in stocks and 401k TSP, but it was the smaller portfolio of 11. Of 11 units that pushed me into financial freedom and multimillionaire status. REI is not easy and not entirely passive, but for me, it is the way. You just have to get started. Thank you, Matt. That is a great way of putting. Is this Matt from here? Or is that a different Matt? That's a different Matt. Okay, so if we've met, I'm sorry, but Matt, great way to put it. The pension, the 401k, they completely make sense. Real estate meant financial freedom. Justin, I just figured the Dave Ramsey comment would get you riled up. I was getting pretty beat up in the comment section of that video. I'm telling you, Dave Ramsey is great for the people who need him. He really is. If you have credit card debt, right, the average credit, and this is when I made a video about a year ago, so it's changed, but the average credit card debt a year ago was a little over 16,000. The average balance is held for over 2 years. The average person absolutely needs Dave Ramsey. The investor, the person who stops being average, who doesn't have credit card debt, who uses credit cards for points or cash back, who invests in cash flowing assets, who can have the benefit of leveraged appreciation, leveraged depreciation, tenants to pay off debt, fixed rate debt that's lower than inflation, asset protection that comes from having the bank in first position, building a portfolio where you're counting on rents decreasing by half when rents have never gone down since we started tracking them in 1940 over a 5-year period. Yes, there is a way to leverage and be safe. Good evening, Ninja Vanish. Howdy. I am late, so I have to watch the beginning on chipmunk speed.
Nice.
Awesome. JR, if the federal government shuts down, how does that affect Section 8? What have you experienced? I have experienced a 69-day shutdown where Section 8 was not impacted. However, I keep Section 8 to be about 1/3 of my portfolio, military to be 1/3 of my portfolio, and working or retired to be about 1/3 of my portfolio, so that if the government ever did shut down long enough to impact, it doesn't hit the entire portfolio. Bill O'Connell, my favorite word is the richening. Yes, that's a Dionism. The richening continues. The dumbening continues as well, right? Like the people who watch Dave Ramsey and think they're going to retire early, because that's not who he's for. But when they go, I retired early, but have a pension and paid off rentals, rentals that were acquired with debt that were then paid off. That's not the Dave Ramsey way. I think we're going to be wrapping it up there, Mike. If people want to reach out with questions on how to invest at a distance, how to invest while working full time and being a single parent, how can they find you?
If you go on YouTube or Instagram, or you just Google Millennial Mike, I will pop up. If you're on Instagram or YouTube, type in Millennial Mike, Gary, Indiana, or Gary, Indiana real estate investing. I teach people how to invest at a distance. I live in Seattle. I invest in the Midwest.
Awesome. There are some more questions coming in here, like the one from Samuel, that I will answer in a separate video because I'm going to take a screenshot of it right now. What are your thoughts on partial temporary forbearance for long-term tenants that are going through financial difficulties as a preservation move to minimize vacancies? That will be a separate video. If you are a member, in 18 minutes, we will have a members-only group. We can look at deals. If you have one you want us to look at, bring it. If not, we will look at one of mine. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion and Mike talk.